Meine Damen und Herren, herzlich willkommen bei Theologie vom Fass. Nach einer halben Stunde Verspätung legen wir jetzt endlich los. Ich habe heute das große Vergnügen, Sie durch den Abend zu führen. Bei Theologie vom Fass beginne ich normalerweise mit: Es gibt sicher einige, die noch nicht hier waren, die bei Theologie vom Fass noch nicht waren. Heute bin ich mir sicher, dass sehr, sehr viele Leute noch nie bei Theologie vom Fass waren. Deswegen möchte ich Ihnen kurz eine kleine Einleitung geben, wie der Abend ablaufen wird. Im Endeffekt sagt es der Name selber schon, Theologie vom Fass. Das heißt, es geht um Bier. Ganz einfach, das kann sich jeder merken. Deshalb gibt es bei Theologie vom Fass 2 halbe und ein Stamperl. Heute haben wir allerdings den Christopher West aus Amerika einfliegen lassen. Das heißt, er wird uns nicht nur eine halbe zapfen, sondern wahrscheinlich sogar 2 oder 3. Ein kleiner Applaus bitte. Nach diesen ersten 1 oder 2 Mass, je nachdem, werden wir eine kleine Pause haben. Ja? Das sind 15 Minuten. Währenddessen werden wir auch verschiedene Flyer verteilen und Sie haben Zeit, ein bisschen diese erste Runde einsacken zu lassen. Danach geht es mit der zweiten Mass weiter. Ja? Und ich muss mich korrigieren, es sind nämlich heute nicht 2 Mass, sondern sogar 3 Mass. Ja? Danach haben wir eine kleine Pause und danach, wir haben wieder diese kleine Pause und danach geht es mit einer Diskussionsrunde weiter. Und dort haben Sie wahrscheinlich die einmalige Gelegenheit, Christopher West ein paar Fragen zu stellen, die Sie ihn schon immer fragen wollten. Zu guter Letzt kommt dann der Pater George, weil diese vielen Halbe wahrscheinlich ziemlich schwer im Magen liegen und wird uns noch ein kleines Stamperl in Form eines geistlichen Impulses geben. So right now, for all of those who did not understand what I said in German, I'd like to give a little introduction in English. We are very, very pleased as the organizers of Theology on Tap to welcome all of you here. There are people from Hungary, a little applause. People from Germany. Is there anybody else coming from far away? Yeah, from Slovakia, wow. So you see, great, so you see there's even people from the United States. So as you see, this night is the night of premieres. It's the first time that Theology on Tap is in English. It's the first time that Christopher West is here, etc. A very, very special night. So we have, it's Theology Theology on Tap, sorry, consists in 3 parts. The first one will be the talk by Christopher West. There is one little break in between, and then he goes on with his band, Mike Mangione and the band. After that, we have a discussion round, which will take another maybe half an hour, 1 hour, and after that, Father George will give like a little impulse, a spiritual impulse that we always call shot. Zu guter Letzt möchte ich noch kurz auf ein paar Sachen hinweisen. Das eine ist, dass wir hinten Essen haben. Ja? Falls irgendjemand hungrig werden sollte, dieser Abend wird sehr lang. Wir haben hinten immer unsere Kellner, die sich sehr freuen, uns Essen zu bringen. Ja? So there's still a couple of things that I would like to say. The first one concerns food. It's going to be a long night, so if anybody gets hungry after the first Schnitzelsemmel, you're invited to go back to the counter and order another Schnitzelsemmel and a couple of beers. Honor Theology on Tap. The next thing is the translation. For all of you who do not understand... das muss ich auf Deutsch machen. Also, für alle von Ihnen, die nicht Englisch sprechen, wir haben 2 Übersetzungen. Ja? Wir haben Simultanübersetzungen. Die eine ist auf Englisch, die andere auf Deutsch. Jetzt ist wichtig, alle, die nicht Englisch sprechen, haben ja schon ihre Empfänger mit den Radios. 4 wird Ungarisch sein, ganz, ganz wichtig. Ja? 4 Ungarisch und 11 Deutsch. Ich sag's nochmal, 4 ist Ungarisch, 11 ist Deutsch. So I'm going to say it in English to make it more international. 4 is for all those who want to have a Hungarian translation, and 11 is for those who want to have the translation of Christopher West into German. So. Das war's mit den offiziellen Sachen. Jetzt würde ich euch gerne den Vizepräsidenten des Core Projects vorstellen, Jason Clark. Jason, how are you?
Thanks, thank you. Hello, hello. So good to be here with you. I cannot see anybody except right here because the lights are so bright. Wow. Are you there? Perfect. We're so happy to be here in Vienna. Thank you for coming to spend this evening with us. My name is Jason Clark. I'm the Executive Vice President of the Core Project, an organization founded by Christopher West to help really spread the message you're going to hear tonight around the world. I'll share a little bit more later tonight about how you can get more information on the Core Project, but I just wanted to say hello so you knew who I was. If you get a chance during the intermission or at the end of the night, I'll be over here. I would love to say hello to as many of you as I can. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jason. So, genug der Ansagen. Vorhang auf für Christopher West and Mike Mangione and the Union.
Hello. My name is Mike Mangione. This is the Union. We're going to start with a song called Endless. As a child in need of help, no matter what I felt, I could find love, 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 love. In the garden of the fruit, fate took root, but there was still love, 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 love. An endless love. Endless love. Won't you find me this time? Whoa, love, won't you find me this time? Yeah. Oh, love, won't you find me? Sweet love, please, please blind me with your love. Find me again. multiply me this time. Oh, won't you find me, sweet love? Please define me by your love. Find me again. With sinful steps despair, and I hear voices everywhere. I reply love, oh love, 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 love. Temptations, how they dwell in my weakness, they know me well. I reply love, 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 love.
Guten Abend. I wish I knew more of your beautiful language, but that's about all I know. I'm very grateful that you understand English so that we can have this gathering here tonight. I would like you all to reflect on a time in your life when your heart was pierced by something so beautiful that it took your breath away. Maybe it was a starlit night. Maybe it was a beautiful sunset. Maybe it was a beautiful flower. Or perhaps, have you seen the guy on YouTube? We call him the double rainbow guy in America. Have you seen, how many have seen the double rainbow guy on YouTube? Not only a few of you. Okay, well, those who have seen the double rainbow guy, you will vouch for me. You will back me up that I'm not exaggerating, okay? I'll try to tell you what happened to this double rainbow guy, and I want it to hopefully awaken a memory in your life when your heart was also pierced by beauty. So he walks out his house, and he sees this gorgeous double rainbow across the sky, and it goes like this. Double rainbow. It's a double rainbow all the way across the sky. It's full on. Oh, it's so intense. It's so bright and vivid. Oh, double rainbow all the way across the sky. It's so beautiful. Am I exaggerating? Those who saw it, I'm not exaggerating, right? And then he goes on, he goes, it's so beautiful. It's starting to look like a triple rainbow. Oh, oh, oh my God, double rainbow all the way across the sky. It's so beautiful. What does it mean? The reason I bring up the double rainbow guy is because he is an example to us of what Pope Benedict calls us all to do. When Pope Benedict said, the saint is the one who has the courage to allow his heart to be pierced by beauty so deeply that our own hearts are transformed by beauty. You see, we also recognize in the double rainbow guy that beauty has the ability to awaken in our hearts very deep questions about the meaning of life. What does it mean? Beauty, Pope Benedict says, also has the ability to awaken in our hearts our deepest yearnings and desires. We're going to talk tonight a lot about desire. And if we are to become the men and women we are created to be, it is absolutely essential that we have the courage to get in touch with our deepest desires. Every human heart experiences this cry, this longing a yearning for something more than what this life has to offer. If you turn on the radio, you will hear this cry of the heart in the music of the people. Now, I would imagine you're familiar with some of my favorite bands. Bruce Springsteen, yes? Yes? He probably says it best when he sings, "Everybody's got a hungry heart. Everybody's got a hungry heart." But what is that hunger? What are we hungry for? And why? We must ask ourselves, why can't Mick Jagger get no satisfaction? This man tries, and he tries, and he tries, and he tries, but he can't get no satisfaction. Why is that? I have climbed the highest mountain. I have run through the fields only to be with you. But I haven't found what I'm looking for. What is Banu looking for? What are we looking for? We must have the courage to feel that desire at its depth. The Greeks had a word for this desire that we all feel. This desire for love, this desire for union, this desire for fulfillment, this desire for happiness. The Greeks called it eros. E-R-O-S, eros. I don't know what the equivalent would be in your beautiful German language, but in English we have a derivative. The word is erotic. Do you have something similar in your language? Yes? Unfortunately, in the English language, the word erotic has gotten terribly twisted up. It's become something very shallow. It's the search for immediate pleasure, immediate gratification, and often at other people's expense. We're not talking about that. We're talking about something much deeper. In fact, Pope Benedict says that eros is our yearning for the infinite. Eros is not just a hunger and desire for union with another here on earth. It is that. But it's something much more. When we feel it at its deepest level, eros is a desire for union with something that lasts forever. Eros is a yearning and a desire for an infinite happiness, an infinite union, an infinite fulfillment. If we were to put a word to it, eros is our yearning for God, for infinite love. Now, unfortunately, many people grow up in Christian homes, and we don't have much honest discussion about eros in our Christian upbringings. This is tragic. In fact, let me see a show of hands, and I have to shield my eyes so I can actually see. How many of you were raised in a Christian home? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, just about everybody. How many of you would say that in your Christian upbringing, there was open, honest, normal, healthy conversation about erotic desire? Please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, that's a little more than 1% of us. 98% of us were raised, when it comes to this most fundamental hunger, we were raised on what I call the starvation diet gospel. The hunger was there, but nobody told us how to feed the hunger. And if we heard anything, it might have gone like this. Your desires are bad. They're only going to get you in trouble. You need to deny them, repress them, ignore them, but follow all of these rules, and you'll be a good Christian. This is what a lot of people think Christianity is, following a list of rules. But the saints show us that Christianity is the religion of desire. It's the religion that redeems eros. It's the religion that directs our desire according to God's design so we can reach our destiny. That's what we're going to be talking about here tonight. Desire, design, and destiny. If you, like me, were raised on the starvation diet gospel, then you probably found the culture's fast food gospel very attractive. The culture knows that we are hungry. The secular world knows that we are creatures of longing and erotic desire. The secular world knows this very, very well. And they promise us immediate gratification. They promise us immediate fulfillment. They promise us immediate pleasure. And so I call it fast food. But if you try to satisfy your desire for the infinite with something finite, does it satisfy? If we really are created for something infinite, then I would suggest if we're trying to satisfy that desire with finite things, we will never be satisfied. And maybe that's why Mick Jagger can't get no satisfaction. If we eat from the fast food menu, like I have done in my life, eventually you end up like the guy in the movie. I don't know if you've seen it. Maybe it made its way over here. But in America, a few years ago, there is a movie called Supersize Me. Do you know about this movie? It's a man who did a little experiment. It was a documentary. And he decided to eat McDonald's fast food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for 30 days to see what would happen to him. Well, at the end of this little experiment, he was literally dying. His body was shutting down from all the grease and the sodium. And that is a fairly accurate picture of what I looked like, spiritually speaking, in my college years. Raised on the starvation diet, the fast food looked very attractive to me. I mean, let's be honest. If the only two choices are starvation or fast food, I'm going for the greasy chicken nuggets because I'm hungry. But then, I remember a night in 1988 in a college dorm. Everyone was gorging on the fast food. And my roommate came back from a party very drunk, and he vomited all over our dorm room. It smelled so bad, I had to leave and sleep somewhere else. So I grabbed my pillow and my blanket, and I went to a room down the hall. I slept on the floor. Well, this person came back from another party into his room with a girl, and he didn't know I was on the floor. And I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that she said, "Stop." She said, "Stop. Stop it. I'd only want to do this if I knew you loved me." To which he responded, "I love you, I love you." Now I understand why we chuckle, but let's look deeper there. I don't think that's funny. We almost have to laugh, though, because it's too painful otherwise. We lie to one another all the time. Was he telling the truth? What do you think? Was he telling the truth? No, he was lying. She said stop. And he kept going. And I have to apologize to every woman here and every woman on the planet that I did not get up from the floor and kick the living beep out of this guy, which is what I should have done. But I was so stunned by what was happening. I froze. And in a way, I was a coward that night. And I'm sorry to every one of my sisters. But God used that experience in my life in a very profound way. It forced me to ask some very big questions about the meaning of life, about the meaning of love, about the meaning of sex. And I was really angry at this guy. I witnessed what he did. But I had to ask some questions about myself. And I had to say, am I much better in the way I think about women, in the way I brag about my sexual conquests? And I was sexually active with my girlfriend at the time. It wasn't a matter of date rape. She was willing, but was I loving her? I don't know. I didn't even know what love was. I don't know. What's love? I don't know. And I started to get angry, really angry, especially at God. Because I thought, okay, God, if you exist, you better show me. And you better show me why you gave me all of these desires. Because they're getting me and everybody I know into a heck of a lot of trouble. What is your plan? Do you have a plan? Jesus said, seek and you will find. Eros, that yearning we all feel, it makes each and every one of us seekers. Seek and you will find. I sought and I sought and I sought. I wanted answers. And making a long story short, what I found, this would have been 6 years later. No, sorry, I did my math wrong. 4 years later. No, I did my math wrong again. 5 years later. In 1993, I discovered this beautiful teaching of Pope John Paul II called the Theology of the Body. And I remember thinking, just the title was remarkable. Theology of the body. What makes our bodies a theology? What makes our bodies a study of God? And I came to learn that Pope John Paul II, for 5 years, between 1979 and 1984, almost every Wednesday over that time period in St. Peter's Square, he was giving a talk week after week after week on God's plan for sex. The Pope was talking about sex every week. I had been raised a Catholic. I remember when Pope John Paul II was elected. I was 8 years old. I was in 3rd grade. But I had no idea that this Pope would change my life. I started reading this. I was 23 years old when I discovered this. And I don't know how this Pope did it. But somehow, he was able to put his finger on the deepest yearnings of my heart. And he said to me, if you take your desire over here, here's what will happen. And he didn't use these words, but he was talking about what I call the fast food. He says, if you take your desire over here, it will never satisfy. In fact, it will cause you much pain. And I was like, yeah, I know. And then he said, many people believe Christianity calls us to repression, to the rejection of sexuality. But he was so clear. He says, basically, I'm the Pope, and I'm here to tell you that's a lie. That is not what the church teaches or believes. In fact, that is a heresy. That rejection of the body, that fearful repression of sexuality comes from a heresy, an error that the Catholic Church has condemned over and over and over again. And John Paul II showed me that starvation and fast food are not the only two options. That there is indeed a banquet of love to which God invites every single one of us. There is a banquet of love, An endless love, as Mike was singing about. There is an endless love that corresponds to the endless desire in our hearts for love, for happiness, for union. And slowly but surely, John Paul II was helping me to redirect my desire according to God's design so I could aim towards my destiny. Do you know what our destiny is? Did you know that we are invited to an ecstasy that lasts forever? A bliss, a happiness, a love that lasts forever. But we have to have the courage to walk through this narrow gate. I'm going to invite the band up, and they're going to sing another song for us. And I'll ask Mike to tell us a few words about this song. But here's how I hear this song. This is a song about desire. This is a song about how when we take our desire to the wrong place, as Mike says, we end up poisoned and used. And we find ourselves now standing at this gate. And maybe we hear a voice calling us to another way of living, another way of thinking, another way of seeing. But maybe we're afraid. I'll leave it at that. Be not afraid.
So this song is it's called Echar Gate, and it's a song that I wrote about getting to a point in your life where you come up to a line, and beyond it lies the unknown. But behind you lies everything you know, and everything you've experienced, your hobbies, your passions, your faith, your family, your friends, your work, everything. And it hasn't worked. Something's wrong, something's off, which has led you to this point. And you know you have two options. You could either go back and rearrange everything and hope that it works out, or you can take a leap of faith in a new direction. And the problem with the new direction is that it's dark, not in a spiritual way, but you have no idea what to expect. So it truly is a leap of faith. So this song lies not in the leap, not in the rearranging. This song lies in the decision at that moment and having to make that decision of what do I do? Do I take this leap? So it's called Echar Gate, and hopefully it's not too somber, but we'll do our best. Come out, come meet me. I've been poisoned, I've been used, and now I'm standing at your gate, and I am hanging on your gate, and I'll be standing at your gate. In my day, I ruled deception. I was king, I had control, but I deceived all those I hold, and they flanked and dug a hole, and now I'm standing at your gate. I was lost in my intention, but they were bleeding from your side, while I was blinding out my eyes. When I left, I had direction, I had protection, I was free. but they do not compromise. No, they do not compromise. And now I'm standing at your gate. Did not come to take you, I came to let you take me in. And we're born where we begin, and this fever burns within. And there's a song of songs you're singing. I've been bleeding every line. How I want to harmonize. Yes, I need to harmonize. And I'll be singing at your gate.
What does it mean? Whenever our hearts encounter something beautiful, if we have this kind of courage, it will pierce our hearts and it will awaken these deep questions about the meaning of things. Now, I know that watching this maybe for the first time, it can be a little disconcerting. Now, some people have asked, is this guy on drugs? The answer is no. I actually, when this came out a few years ago, I was very taken in by it. In fact, there's, I think, 300 million views on YouTube, and I think 2 million of them come from me. So I kind of fell in love with this guy. I've watched it so many times, and it's very interesting what happens as it unfolds. When he starts to cry, it starts to rain. It's almost as if God is crying with him. And you may think he's on drugs, but I saw him interviewed on some American television shows, and he insisted, no, I'm not on drugs. And the interviewer said, well, are you sure? I mean, what's the lesson here? He says, I guess the lesson is you can get high without drugs. I think that's a very important lesson for us. Because rightly understood, we all want to get high. But drugs are finite highs. Are you following me? I want to suggest that that yearning we feel to get high, which means to be happy, we're looking for an infinite high, an infinite ecstasy. And this is exactly what God wants to do for us. This is exactly what he wants to give us. And the beautiful things of this world, whether it be a double rainbow, whether it be a piece of music, whether it be a good beer. How do you say cheers in German? Prost, Prost, yes. Beer is beautiful. Beer is a gift from God. And all of these pleasures, all of these beautiful things that God has given us in this life, including sex. God made us this way. Why did he make us this way? What does it mean? What is his design? That's what we want to look at now. And I hope what we will discover by looking at God's design is that all of the beautiful things in this world, the things we love the most, these beautiful things, small b beauty, is meant to lead us to capital B beauty. But when we stop at the finite things, when we stop at small b beauty, we don't go beyond. And when we fail to go beyond, the finite things become idols in our lives. Let me put it this way. I would suggest that we all have 3 choices when it comes to our desires. 3 choices. We will either become a stoic, an addict, or a mystic. Now that has a nice ring to it in English. For those who are hearing the interpretation, I don't know if it has the nice ring to it. But listen to the poetry of the English. Stoic, addict, mystic. What do I mean? The stoic is someone who is afraid of desire. Maybe this person has been burned by desire, gotten in trouble, caused pain. And so that person thinks the solution is to repress the desire. Many people confuse Christianity with that kind of repression and stoicism. Another word might be Puritanism, a fearful rejection of these pleasurable bodily realities and a fearful rejection of our desire. This is not Christianity. Addiction happens when we take our desire for the infinite to the finite. Why do we become addicted? Because it doesn't satisfy us. So what do we think we need? More of it. So we go and we get more of it. Does it satisfy yet? So what do we think we need now? More of it. We go and we get more of it. Does it satisfy yet? No, more, 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 more. That is addiction. A futile attempt to satisfy infinite desire. What is a mystic? Now, you may think when you hear the word mystic, you may be thinking of some of these amazing saints like Padre Pio, who had the stigmata, or Teresa of Avila, who experienced levitations and things like that. That's not exactly what I'm talking about, because very, very few of us will ever experience any of that. But all of us are called to what the Catechism describes as ordinary mysticism. And the ordinary mystic is the one who is opening all of his or her desire for the infinite to the infinite. And that person is entering into the great mystery of the universe, the great mystery of the love affair that God has with us. That's what makes a person a mystic, to enter into the mystery of God's love affair. We are all called to that. This is God's design. In fact, all of creation tells this story. What story? This great love story. God speaks to us in sign language. And we must learn how to read His sign language. There are signs everywhere that tell the story of God's love. In fact, look at all of creation. If there is a God who made all of this, then what we believe as Catholics is that creation itself is God's message to us. Well, look at creation. You cannot escape the fact, if you read the book of nature, that one of God's favorite subjects is mating and fertility. God loves sex because almost everything in creation is having it. Are you following me? What are the birds singing about? Sex. When we hear a bird sing, we're hearing a mating call. 9 times out of 10, it's a mating call. What are the crickets chirping about? Sex. Did you know only the male crickets sing? And there are 3 phases of a cricket song. It's the song of calling, where the male is wooing the female. It's the song of courting, where the female is now responding. And then, my favorite, the song of copulation. That's when the crickets really go wild. God has written a love song right into creation. Do you know what a flower is? Do you know what a flower is? I have a priest friend who's I describe him as kind of a mystical botanist. This guy loves flowers. And one time he says to me, "Christopher, have you ever seen a flower?" "Yeah." He's like, "No, you haven't. No, you haven't." He says, "Look with new eyes at a flower." I was like, "What are you trying to tell me, Father? What are you trying to think?" He says, "Do you know what a flower is?" I'm like, "Yes, I know what it is." "No, you don't. Let me tell you what a flower is." He says, "A flower is nature's most beautiful reproductive organ." And then I'm remembering back to science class, when I was in school, and I'm like, "You're exactly right. I never really thought of it." And he says, "Why do flowers smell so good?" I'm like, "I don't know, tell me." He says, "Because they're trying to attract lovers, pollinators." And then he said to me, "Take a breath." I was like, and he says, "Chances are you just interrupted nature's reproductive process. Because you just breathed in some pollen into your nose." And he said, "Love is in the air. It's everywhere." I'm like, this priest sees the world He's either crazy or I want to get in on it. But the saints talk about this. When you open your eyes to see God's sign language, you see it everywhere. And you come to recognize that every blade of grass, every tree, every shrub, every flower, every insect, every star in the sky proclaims this love story. And all of it culminates in us. Scripture teaches that we are the crown or the culmination of the whole created world. And there is a song that we are all called to sing. You see, the rest of nature sings it without any choice. But what is unique about the human being is we have freedom. We can choose to enter this love song, or we can choose not to. We can choose to sing in harmony with this divine love song, or we can go off on our own and write our own version. And it's when we go off and follow our own designs, Scripture says, that we get in trouble. But as we come to learn how to sing in tune with God's designs, as we learn how to direct our desire according to God's design, it leads us to an infinite destiny of ecstasy and joy beyond our wildest imaginings. God is singing to us. Oh, oh, listen to the music. Indeed, if you look at creation rightly, if you open your ears to creation rightly, you will discover exactly what Maria von Trapp discovered in these hills. What did she discover?
The hills are alive.
The hills are alive with the sound of music. Ah. We have to tune our ears to hear what God is singing. Let's take another step here. How is this love song culminated in us? And what does it mean? What does it mean? Let me give you a visual. I want you to imagine, if you will, that this is the most beautiful painting you have ever seen in your life. Do I hear some oohs? Do I hear some ahs? Do I hear some, what does it mean? What is this a painting of? What is the most beautiful thing God has created? No, not a double rainbow. Jesus says, haven't you read that in the beginning, God made them male and female and called the two to become one flesh? Remember, God loves mating and fertility. The very first commandment God gives the human race is to be fruitful and multiply. And he's not talking about planting fruit trees and doing times tables. The very first commandment God gave the human race was that the two would become one flesh. This is the most beautiful painting we can possibly imagine. This is a painting of man and woman, just as God made us to be, naked, without shame. And this is God's greatest sign. Our bodies are not only biological, our bodies are theological. They tell a story about God and His design for the whole universe. How so? What image does the Bible use far more than any other to tell us about God and His love? From beginning to end, the Bible tells a story about marriage. Did you know this? From beginning to end, the Bible tells a story about marriage. How so? Well, it begins in Genesis with our creation as male and female, as I'm saying. It begins with this painting and the call of the two to become one. Throughout the Old Testament, God speaks of his love for his people as the love of a husband for his bride. In the New Testament, the love of the eternal bridegroom is literally embodied when the Word is made flesh. Skip to the end of the story. The book of Revelation describes heaven as a marriage. Who gets married in heaven? Christ and the church. God and humanity. And as the saints have been trying to tell us for centuries, these two bookends give us the key for understanding everything between. God wants to marry us. In other words, he wants to enter into an eternal union of life-giving love with each and every one of us. And this, my brothers and sisters, this is the ultimate trajectory and destiny of Eros. You see, the union of man and woman in God's design that begins the story, this painting, this is not the ultimate fulfillment of Eros. Sexual union is not the ultimate fulfillment of our yearning. This is just a sign that's meant to point us to something greater than itself. This is God's main clue that he gave us, a picture of what heaven is going to be like. Heaven is the consummation of a mystical marriage. And all of this comes together for us in Ephesians chapter 5, where St. Paul says, "For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother, be joined to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." For what reason? He says the reason is to reveal the great mystery of Christ's love for the church. Can we get an image up here, the nuptial cross? Years ago, I was listening to a tape series from a famous American bishop named Fulton Sheen, and I believe one day he'll be named a saint. And he was describing the crucifixion in a way that I had never heard before. And he has kind of a booming voice. It went something like this. "Do you know what's happening at the foot of the cross? Nuptials, I tell you. Nuptials." Do we know what nuptials are? Nuptials are the union of the bridegroom and the bride. And he said Christ mounted the marriage bed of the cross. I thought, whoa. The marriage bed of the cross. To give up his body for his bride. And who is at the foot of the cross? And what does he call her? What does Jesus call Mary at the foot of the cross? Woman. Whenever Jesus calls Mary woman, as the fathers of the church teach us, we're at a wedding. Where else did he call her woman? At the wedding feast of Cana. This is a marriage taking place. Now you might be saying, whoa, time out. That's his mother. Yes, in the flesh, she is always his mother. But in the spirit, she represents the church, and the church is the bride. So this is, of course, symbolic of something. But Mary here is the symbol of the bride. She's the new Eve. Christ is the new Adam, the new bridegroom. And so he says to the bride, to the church, "This is my body given for you." And notice how this artist depicts it. The woman, the church, the bride, has a chalice. And she's receiving the flow of blood and water from the heart of the bridegroom. And here Bishop Fulton Sheen, he knows he's about to say something a little maybe unfamiliar to some. But this was not unfamiliar to the early church. He said, I quote verbatim from St. Augustine, "Do you know what the flow of blood and water is from the side of the bridegroom? It is, so to speak, his spiritual seed, his spiritual seminal fluid. That's what St. Augustine said. There is a mystical marriage being consummated here. Mating and fertility. How do we know this was fertile? Because what does Jesus say to the woman? He says, "Woman, behold your son." John is also at the foot of the cross, the beloved disciple. And John is a symbol of all of us. All of us are born again through baptism from this union, the union of the new Adam and the new Eve. My brothers and sisters, this is the story that our bodies tell if we have eyes to see. This is the love song that our bodies are meant to sing if we have ears to hear. This painting is a window to heaven. This painting is meant to point us to an eternal union, an ecstasy and a bliss that lasts forever. Now think for a moment. If there's an enemy who wants to keep us from heaven, and if this is the main clue God has given us to point us to heaven, how do you think the enemy feels about this painting? He hates it. He hates it with all his diabolic fury. And this is exactly what he came to attack in the garden. And do you know what happened to this painting through original sin? What we call original sin? This painting became terribly twisted and distorted. Love became lust. Rather than pouring our lives out for another in love, we use one another for our selfish pleasure. What I experienced in that dorm room that night, when she said, "I would only want to do this if I knew you loved me," she was remembering deep in her heart God's original design. But because everything was all twisted up, he lied to her. He said, "Oh, I love you, I love you." But he didn't love her. He just wanted to use her for his own selfish pleasure. Now, this twisted distortion goes both ways. Not only do men use and abuse women. Women, please be honest, you know how also to use and manipulate us. And this is the source of so much pain in our lives. When we are using one another rather than loving one another. All the heartache, all the difficulty, all the friction and pain in the sexual relationship, Jesus says to us, in the beginning it was not so. But I want to share with you the real gift of this theology of the body. But first we have to point out the tragic mistake of so many Christians throughout history. Christians throughout history, unfortunately, they've encountered this crumpled up piece of paper and it looks like trash. So they have mistakenly thought that the solution to this problem is what? Throw it away. And so many Christians believe a heresy. And the heresy goes like this: spirit good, body bad. This is not what the Catholic Church really teaches and believes. That is a heresy that the Catholic Church has condemned over and over again. A heresy with many different names: Manichaeism, Gnosticism, Jansenism, Puritanism, dualism. Two men in the 20th century, both very prominent global figures, reached into this trash can in response to Puritanism and told the world, you mustn't throw this away. One man's name was Hugh Hefner. Do you know who Hugh Hefner is? He's the founder of Playboy magazine and one of the architects of the pornographic culture in which we live today. But when he started Playboy magazine in 1953, he said, "I started this magazine as my personal response to the hurt and hypocrisy of Puritanism." So we should ask ourselves, was Hugh Hefner right to tell the world we shouldn't throw this away? What do you think? Was he right? Yes, he was. On that point. But where was he wrong? Where did he get it seriously wrong? And why are we in such a dark, dark place today when it comes to questions of sexuality? Pornography has become our understanding. This is who we think we are. And we think we're only valuable if we are able to incite another person's lust. This is not who we are. There's another way to see. There's another way to think. Remember I said there were two men who pulled this out of the trash can. Right at the same time, in the early 1950s, when Hugh Hefner started Playboy magazine, a young Polish priest named Karol Wojtyła also pulled this out of the trash can and started saying to the modern world, "You mustn't throw this away." But he did something Hugh Hefner didn't do. By reflecting deeply on what Christ did for us on the cross, by reflecting deeply on the original plan, the original design of God, and how Christ came to restore that design, he said to the modern world, "Let me show you what you've been throwing away." And he uncrumpled for us the original, beautiful, wonderful plan of God for making us male and female. My brothers and sisters, this is who we really are. And we are called to rediscover who we really are. But here's where we start. Each and every one of us have fallen. Each and every one of us have hearts that in one way or another, it's all crumpled up. And I think the deepest cry of our heart, this cry for love, we ask ourselves, not, can I be loved at my best? We can all put on a pretty face and be loved at our best. But I know the deepest question of my heart is, can I be loved when I fall? Can I be loved in my brokenness? Can I be loved in all of my selfish, wounded humanity? God meets us right here. And His love is what does this in our lives. Mike's going to sing for us again.
It's a song called "Can You Love Me Falling?" It's a song about falling to your knees, not because you think you should, but because you can't stand. Lover, will you pardon me? Will you let me sing to you? Can you hear me sing? In the moment of decision, I tremble, dear. I pace the steps that fell. Here I come. Cause nothing here can save me now. Say the word, I'm yours, yeah. Can you love me falling? I remember when Other rest with ease. I could love and please my brother, but did I please you? And the strength of emotion could make a man divine to sacrifice himself for love. It also make me crazy. There's nothing here can see me now. See the world I'm losing. Can you love me falling? Can you love me falling, baby? Oh, can you love me falling? Yeah. Because I need. And through the veil, your heart bleeds to mine. Can you love me falling, falling, baby?